Fission Radio Show with your host, Lonnie Clark. We stand together and accept that we now live in a world transformed by Fukushima. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on UCY.TV radio. We relentlessly engage every ear that listens. We expose and confront the complete lack of accountability for the nuclear industry. Consider social engineering programs who view our bodies, minds, and souls as assets on a balance sheet. We discuss vital current issues, interview activists, and engage our audience in an effort to allow all voices to be heard. The Age of Vision radio show creates a venue that all will choose. We encourage our listeners to reclaim their power and their courage to take action and save our planet from the ravages of greed and indifference. Our actions matter. Every voice matters. We remind our listeners that happiness is resistance. Love is greater than fear. Good morning, UCY.TV radio listeners. This is Lonnie Clark with the Age of Fission radio show. Today is May 3rd. I can't believe it. Like 5 months in already, folks. It's 8 o'clock in the morning here, and today we have a guest that's returning, a new friend of our show, Larry Woods, who is, as he a self-described fisherman and I guess a citizen scientist. So, Larry, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Had to find the button. Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us. So the last time you were on with us, it was your first time here, and you described how you and a few of your friends have developed an electrical system. I guess it's an energy source system, correct?
Yeah, it's actually simply an amperage magnifier booster.
Okay, and that would like lower all of our electrical rates, create a whole different set of system for our current remaining grid, not getting people off the grid. Is that correct?
A little bit of both. The coils will that we make will increase the amperage output of any power producing device by a factor of 10.
So if we had solar panels on our house, we would still be able to benefit from your product?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
We've got one of our test models is a coil with 0.46 ohms of conductor on it. That's just a little bit of wire, okay? 100 feet of wire. And this coil, if you attach it to a 3-volt cell phone charging solar panel that's about 3 inches by 4 inches, that is a 500 milliamp 3-volt solar panel. Out of that, we get 30 amps, not 500 milliamps. So it would greatly increase the power output of any solar unit.
That's amazing. I mean, when you think about it, the solar units now actually, when a person puts a solar panel up on their house, I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, maybe 6 people who do have that here in Eugene. All of them, after less than a year, say that they are paying $5, $6 for electricity, and they are giving electricity to the utility company. So if we had this on all of their homes, the amount of money that these utility companies could generate would be off the charts. We could go completely off of coal, off of oil, off of nuclear, off of all of the whole horrible systems. I mean, even solar is not that clean. We could invent something better than solar. Solar's the best option. What's that?
We already have magnetics.
Okay. This is what yours is based on, right? The magnetics, right?
Yes, ma'am. We've learned to control the magnetic field.
So the system that you have, though, sets up in the current, it already works in the current system. Like if we were to, okay, so let me just ask you this. You can tell I have no background in science, okay? So forgive me for sounding like a child. But if some magic thing happened and we had this on the top of in my household system, if I cut off from my utility company, I could be completely self-sustaining with a unit in my own house that you guys have invented.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Wow.
ma'am.
What is the projected cost? Like, let's say you got your product into full steam production. Would this be required to be on every home, or is it a centralized thing, or what happens for, like, let's say a little burg of 1,000 people? Do we have 1,000 units on the houses, or
Okay,
what?
let's take that 1,000 people and move them to the other side of a mountain that the power company doesn't want to go over the mountains to provide them power. Every
Okay.
house, every house there could have a generator, a magnetic drive generator next to its distribution panel that would provide at least 5 kilowatts of power.
I'm
Five
sorry.
kilowatt.
Could you back up a little bit? Every house could have what on it? Say this again?
Okay, we have a magnetic drive system for every toroidal uh, coil that we make. What that does is it magnetically induces a charge into that coil. We can make a 5 kilowatt unit that runs on magnetics with no power input whatsoever other than magnetic energy that will run for a minimum of 20 years on a circuit board that is
Wow.
modulating the frequency. Other than that, the only thing to wear out is the magnets, and they last for 300 to 400 years. So every 20 years, you have to unplug a circuit board and plug a new one in, and you've got power again.
Wow.
So
Wow, wow, wow. Well, I hope you guys are talking to some people with some big money because this sounds like a really great idea.
it it is revolutionary. The coils that we have in themselves do things that normal coils don't. Uh, this one that I told you about with 0.46 ohms of wire.
Mm-hmm.
Standard electrical formula is 1 volt through 1 ohm of conductor yields 1 amp. 111. Easy thing to remember. With our coil, 1 volt through 0.46 ohms of conductor yields 10 amps. So,
So it's like 1 to 1/2 to 10.
yeah,
Instead of 111, it's 1 to 1/2 to 10.
yeah. And
Wow.
and when we put
Have you
three
guys
volt,
got this patented?
we're in the process, patent and copyright trust.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness,
Absolutely.
because that would be snap. And so you haven't seen this when you applied at the patent office. They haven't sent you back a letter and said, sorry, it's already taken.
We have applied overseas. We have not applied in the United States and will not apply in the United States if DOD would shut us down
Why? Why would you not do that?
because we are in direct opposition to fossil fuel, any non-renewable energy source.
So because you're into any not, you found a way around the non-renewable, the DOD, that's who, the Department of Defense,
Yes.
and the United States Patent Office, you think would come after you?
Yeah, they would classify it as a security breach of some sort and come and take all of our material and computers
Why would they classify it as a security breach?
because it is a breach of their security because they are the ones that are backed by the fossil fuel people.
Uh, yeah, but don't you think that would, like, they could use, I mean, if you want to promote war and you need endless war, don't you need endless energy?
And that's why we won't work with the American government. Not want to provide them with the most powerful system in the world.
This is what I say. I think we need to start pressuring our Congress to shut down the war machine. This idea that we need secure, I mean, I'm super against it. Like this, I think we need to take back our government and allow us to turn back into a country that doesn't perpetuate, or turn into a country that doesn't perpetuate war. I mean, we came across the entire continent on murder, death, kill. We're still doing that. Look at the Dakota Access Pipeline. But if we could stop that whole, I mean, the fossil fuel industry really is at the heart, a lot of this whole thing of how we all went awry is at the heart of all this like thirst for power. It's
If, if,
unconscionable.
if you'll look at who we're warring with, we are only making war against countries that are not in the World Bank.
That's right. I know this. I know that's why they went after Gaddafi. That's why they've gone after Syria. Yes, I do know that. I recognize that completely.
You know,
And that
all
is really the issue.
and and
Yes.
and the World Bank is funded by fossil fuel. So we've got, or at least the people in charge of it, make their money in fossil fuel, among many other things. But
Well, they also control the nuclear industry. I mean, this is the thing. They control all of the sources of, quote, power because they are, quote, power hungry. That's why they need to run these drug rings. And this is why they need to run the child molestation rings, the child abuse rings, because they want complete and total power. That's why they run the trafficking, the human trafficking machine.
you know,
I mean, let's be really clear. If they did not want the human trafficking machine, we would not have it.
that's right. That's exactly right.
We
So
didn't have it before they were created, as a matter of a fact. It was not, I mean, yeah, slaves were sold, but not on the mass scale that they are now. I mean, honestly, you consider that the United States military is really their slaves. Like they just, it's murder, death, kill anywhere they want.
well, a concubine is a lady that has a 99-year lease on her that can be bought and sold. And concubines are common in a lot of places in the world. So you know that's a uh, what indentured. You can
Yeah.
become indentured in many places in the world
Well, I
still.
hesitate to push back on that terminology of the contract because historically concubines didn't have like formal contracts. That was the same idea, but it was, I mean, this is the thing. Our whole language, everything that how we frame it, has all been framed by these people at the World Bank. I mean, really, honestly, have you read Russ Baker's book called Family of Secrets? The Secret History. It's called, the subtitle is called the secret government of the United States or something like that, like the history into the secret government of the United States. It really does. He goes into that whole thing. That's really where I found very good information that I couldn't understand before on how all this was tied in. But the book is really, he does detail a lot of it is about like the Kennedy thing and how the Bush crime family and all these bankers, all these people whose names, the alphabet names we don't even know about, how they're so intrinsically deep. That was the first place that I had heard Dulles' name and understood how the Dulles brothers had seriously impacted the United States in such a negative way.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it's everywhere. The elite just do what they want. And
That, I mean, when you say that, it reminds me of Cartman from. I mean, this is the thing. This is how deep it is. South Park with Cartman saying, "I do what I want," is
mhm,
plugged into our brains now, so that when we hear about the elites, as soon as we hear that, we hear this little spoiled brat on television saying that. But it's so much graver than what we can eat. Look, let's talk. We talked about this right before we got on air. Fukushima is on fire. The forests around Fukushima are on fire, and they are extremely radioactive. They could not quote decontaminate the forest because it was too dense, too rich. There are in fact, there are no birds. Who was it? I apologize. I forget the scientist's name who found 2 years ago there were only 12 sparrows in Fukushima, and he projected there would be none the next year.
Uh,
So,
it's coming to us on the jet
yes.
stream every single day. North
Hmm.
America is being bombarded every day. I'm going to get a Geiger counter just to find out how bad it is and check my food before I eat it.
Well, the thing is with the food, you can't just put a Geiger counter over your food. You have to have in Japan, to get a Geiger counter, this is how interesting it is because I was working with Mimi Gurman. We were attempting to get funding. You need $5,000 or $6,000 to get a machine that will test your food. So I've heard many scientific experts saying communities need to come together because it's an expensive machine. But if you got 100 families to kick in $60, you could have a machine where everybody could test our food. But attempt to get 5 families interested in giving up $60 to test your food for radioactivity. Honestly, people will say, "Oh, it's terrible." It's like people who say, "Oh, it's terrible in this country," and then don't vote. I'm not political. Really, everything is political. How do you think the bankers took over because nobody got involved? And I know people say it's been a corrupt system, but it's corrupt because we let it be corrupt.
That's right.
Like
We've
we have
got to
got to
learn to say
stand,
no.
yeah, we have to stand up. I mean, we have to be willing to be counted and say no. I mean, we have to, like that woman, I applaud that woman in, this morning, that story, I think it was in Minnesota, where she went to the elections commissioner, held a committee. We saw a video of the woman making the decision saying, "I'm not going to do this. Sorry. Even though we know you have proof that things weren't working right, we're not recounting it. At least we have a video of it." Even if they didn't affect a change immediately. Um, I have to say, I saw this meme yesterday or 2 days ago that said, just because you're having difficulty does not mean you're failing.
That's right. That's right.
You
When
know?
when you find out things don't work, then you have a solution. You know one thing that's not going to fix it.
Exactly. I mean, so, this project, now the project that you have, is it a completed project? Do you have the design completely done? All you guys need is like 10 or $12 million in funding?
That's it. That's it. Uh, we've got a coil that does not heat up at 3 times the rated amperage of the wire. We've got a coil that completely controls the magnetic field with no eddy currents whatsoever. Every coil that's made right now has eddy currents. That produces heat, that makes the coil draw more amperage to operate, which costs the user more money to operate it. Uh, we have a coil that does not move a compass needle when it's energized. Every bit of electrical equipment, when energized, will pull a compass needle toward it. Ours doesn't. It only moves a compass needle when it's exactly over the vortex of the toroidal shape. What that means is that now an MRI, rather than being like getting 120 chest x-rays all at once, is going to be safe. When we get our
Hmm.
generators on the market, the rotational speed of the magnetic drive system will have to be modulated so that it will operate 50 and 60 cycle equipment, which is what everything in the world is. It's either 50 and 60 cycle AC or it's DC. Both areas we can handle. We're going to put it to 54 cycles. 54 cycles will operate both 50 and 60 cycle equipment efficiently. What that means is that rather than being in the mind controlling harmful effects of the 440 production frequency that Hitler put us in both music and power, we'll be back to 432, which is in harmony with nature because 54 times 8 is 432. If 432 is middle A, 54 is low A. So it's just a different octave of the same note. That means that everything will be healthy and not harmful. It won't be against the law to live under a power line, to build a house under a power line. They won't let you do that, but they don't tell you why. If you do, you'll get cancer.
Huh. They know that for a fact.
They know that for a fact, but they won't tell you. They
So I
just
wonder
zone it
how
so you
many
can't
people
build there.
are, but I wonder if, I know that I've seen an article maybe 5 or 6 years, maybe even 8 years ago, a long while ago, about where your electrical wires are in your city. This person had done a review of where the cancer rates, and they were all in a lot of cities. You can look at the power lines and they create like little boxes. They go from one neighborhood to another and they have like boxes. So what he was comparing was the amps and the rates of illness in the houses, and people that were inside the box, in other words, living encapsulated on all four sides without anything. And I think the area he wanted, like, it was like, people living within like a 1 mile, like when you're living downtown or something like that. That's where these things were taken. It was like a little 5 mile radius. Those people had gotten dramatically more sick, more negative effects, more depression, more of everything. His thesis was that it was causing a suppression of our hormones and all of our stuff inside of our bodies that allowed our system to get very weak.
Yes, it is. And not only that, they're putting cell phone towers on top
Oh,
of
yeah.
apartment buildings.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't live under a cell phone tower either.
Yeah.
It's the same deal.
And how do you identify a cell phone tower? If someone's going to say, okay, I'm going to go look for a cell phone tower, how do you tell what it looks like?
You can't. Uh, one of my
You
partner, one of my business associates used to work in the tower business. They make towers that look like pine trees. You can't tell from a distance if it's a tower or not.
Well, what if you're in the city? Do they have like a distinct look?
Oh, well, yeah, you see them in the city everywhere. It's where the lights are blinking so that the planes don't run into them. It's the single antennas that are military that are sticking on top of these apartment buildings. It's the multiple tower antennas that they put on top of businesses. All of that is harmful. The microwave radiation is what those things run on. That's what cooks your food. That's what takes all the vitamins and minerals out of everything you put in your microwave oven.
That's what cooks your body. I mean, it pretty much
That
fries all of us, you
that's
know?
what eats your brain when you put your cell phone up to your ear because
Right.
it's using the microwave. It's low intensity, but if you look at a brain scan of a person that does not have a cell phone to their ear and one that does, you'll see that it heats up the brain.
Okay, so you're probably the perfect person to ask this question to. I recently bought, I've known about this thing about the cell phone, so I always was wearing earplugs, plug it into my phone. I don't wear the Bluetooth because I found the Bluetooth when I first tried it. That thing is toxic. I don't know what is, it really burnt out my ear. I could not put it near my head. I honestly could not wear it. It was a waste of $75. So then I went back to regular plugins, right? Maybe about 3 months ago, my daughter said, "Mom, you should actually not be using those because when you plug that thing into your phone, you need to get air plugs. They sell these earplugs that the last, like, I don't know, 12 inches or 9 inches of it is little tiny plastic tubes, so you don't have any electrical anything sitting in your ear at all."
She is absolutely correct.
Wow. And so what about, like, if you're wearing you know how you, like right now, these headsets that I wear for the radio show, they sort of scope out the sound. I plug them into the microphone. Does that transfer electricity into my brain? Should I be using my little headset, my little telephone connectors now instead and use the ones with wire, or does it matter? Is
And
that entirely different?
it's a different kind of thing. When you're on the cell phone, you're getting microwave. When you're when you're on the computer, all you're getting is an EM, an electrical effect that, although it can be harmful if you are 24 hours a day on it, it is not. It doesn't heat your brain like the rest of it.
Okay, what about this idea? What if I took this thing that I have on my head and plug it into my cell phone? Does then, even though it's not going in my ears, it's sort of surrounding my ears, does it
Yes, it
go,
does.
still does affect it?
Still the same
Wow.
thing.
Because
Still,
it still transfers the microwave up to your head, essentially, is what you're doing.
yes, ma'am.
Wow. So, in other words, even if you give your cell phone, like let's say you have your kids with a cell phone, because a lot of parents are sensitive to this, so they're like, "Well, you can only use the headsets."
Yeah,
You're
well,
still giving, you're still
let's
giving your kid the microwave.
let's talk to them about that for a minute. Take
Please,
those phones away from your children
completely.
completely.
How
Take
old do you
them
think they
out of
should
their
be?
pockets.
And actually, nobody should wear a cell phone in their pockets, frankly,
Nobody, nobody, especially your children. Your children with
especially.
a cell phone in their pocket or sleeping with a cell phone in their bed will be sterile. They will not be able to have children. Cell phones, as they are today, our whole broadcast system is harmful. Everything. Cell phones are bad. All they would have to do is change the frequency of broadcasting by a few hertz, not even thousands of hertz, just a few single frequency changes to put it back in harmony with nature, and then they would not be harmful. They wouldn't heat up your brain, and they would still broadcast just as well.
We could use these same machines.
We could use everything that we've got simply by changing the frequency of broadcasting by 2 or 3 cycles, and we have 60 cycles per second on our power over here.
Oh man, now
Just
you're
take,
getting me really mad, Larry. So they must know this.
yeah, they do. They knew it
Why?
from the beginning. This is part of their population control. That's why the military has an antenna on every single tower out there. Those antennas broadcast different frequencies to do different things to the people, make them passive, make them angry, make them want to go to sleep, make them want to say yes. And they're spraying all of these chemtrails, just the aluminum that's in the chemtrails. It's making human beings more conductive, which means that we are becoming more susceptible to the harmful frequencies that they're delivering to us every day.
Megadose vitamin C, folks, that's for sure. That's what
Absolutely.
I say. 10 to
Absolutely.
25,000 milligrams. You can give your kids 5 to 10 to bowel control. I mean, they say that you should take it until you get super loose bowels and then back down a little bit and maintain that level every day.
If, if
It's unbelievable. There are things we can do to offset the murder, death, kill, but it's funny that they made that movie. Did you see that movie Demolition Man?
Oh yeah.
So when I first saw that movie, it came out, it's a comedy, right, about the future. But this is the interesting thing, the way they use the movie industry. It's like why eyes wide shut. They give us messages as entertainment, even like the Bart Simpson thing. It's
Oh yeah.
supposedly entertainment, but it is really a window into their conversation with us.
When the elite tell you something over any kind of public media and you do nothing to stop it, they think it's okay for them to go ahead and do it.
That's because it is okay for them to do it.
Yeah.
This is the thing, Larry. I have often said this. Our country is like battered women. This is why we elected Trump, or why we even had Trump and Clinton, two batterers. That was who our options were. I mean, it's really an unconscionable. The reason it's unconscionable is because people are not really ready to face the harsh real. I mean, they have this perception that we can't make it without the way the system is right now. Yes, we can.
We
We
have
can make
proved
it.
we have proven that this system is broken and will not work. We cannot replace it with the same system.
Well, this system is really about to, I mean, it is falling in on itself. Well, let me just ask you this because I hadn't actually thought about asking you this question, but our conversation prompts this question. What is your take on this current administration and what they're doing and how they're going about with the military? Like, to me, it's frightening that the president of the United States has basically told the military, you guys make the decisions. Don't ask unless it's the nuclear bomb. That's essentially what he said he told them.
Well,
What do you
I don't think that Trump has enough military background and expertise to lead the military.
Well,
So,
no kidding. Well, he doesn't have enough background to lead the country. He doesn't understand how the government works. He's on television telling the people, don't worry, we're going to have this and that. And he has no idea what the Republican legislation says.
well, the president in this country is a figurehead anyway.
Look, but that's the point of it. We need to take that back. Like, this is like, it has the reason it's a figurehead, the reason Obama clicked his heels and said Sig Heil, the reason that Bush got away with stealing the election, Clinton gave the FCC to the airwaves. They all do exactly as they're told, is they're all being colluded. I mean, I think we need to call our elected officials and give them courage to stand up. And frankly, maybe a few of them do have to be murdered before I mean, I personally think Bernie Sanders should have given that convention the finger and said, hey, you know what? Clinton's people threatened me and my wife and my kids, but I'm standing up for America and I'm out of here. Screw you. Anybody that wants to take America back, follow me. He could have done that and changed the world. He would have been president right now. That would have overturned the apple cart. You know what I'm saying? You want to see a change in Washington? Why do you think the DNC didn't want Bernie? Because he really does want to change. I heard President Trump yesterday say, what I want is America to change. I want it to be better in DC. He's such a liar. What he wants is his money, his friends, all of them squashing us. That's what they want.
Well,
Ugh.
I would much rather have had Trump in there than Hillary.
Not
But
me. I'll be honest, as a woman, Trump is a threat to me. As a woman, he is a threat. He uses children and women. He is such a disrespectful pig. I can't stand him, to be
Hillary
honest.
is a lying murderer.
Yeah, but they're all murderers. You think Trump hasn't already murdered people?
Oh,
He just
sure.
hasn't had the opportunity. He's never been. Could you imagine if he had gotten into government 20 years ago? Oh my God, the blood on his hands. As it is right now, he has blood on his hands. How many people has he stuck with his 6 bankruptcies, and how much slave labor has he used in China? He's disgusting. He's such a hypocrite. Like, honestly, people think he's like better than Hillary. He's no better. For me, I think they both would have. The reason I'm, in a way, the blessing about Trump is that we don't have Hillary.
Yeah,
That's the best part is we
yeah.
don't have that gang. But the worst part is he's not holding back. He's going out for straight out fascism, Larry. He is doing to America what Nixon and the CIA did to Chile. They are overthrowing every safety net we have in this country. In fact, this is the ironic part. In this quick funding bill, the EPA was only cut down by 1%. So they're not gutting the EPA, but they're not staffing it. They're turning it into a complete. This is how the GOP agenda runs. Government doesn't work, so let's don't let government work. So then when it doesn't work, we can say government doesn't work. It's a negative feedback loop. I mean, a positive feedback loop. That's what they're doing, is like they are working to make it not work. And I don't, Clinton wouldn't see the difference between, this is why I would have preferred Clinton, because Clinton would just use it for her own personal gain. She doesn't care who she murders, who she kills. They just want to make money. She just wants to be one of the elite. She's just money grubbing, power hungry, wants to climb the social ladder. Trump, on the other hand, believes he's at the top of the pillar when he's not. And he is willing to just let he is a racist, a bigot. He is willing to murder anybody. He hates women. And he does not have any regard for human life whatsoever. He made a decision to go to war over dinner and publicly announced it. What a disgusting pig. I honestly, I have no kind words for the man because he needs therapy. He's not a mean person. He needs therapy bad. He is really emotionally battered.
He is the public face of corporate takeover.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yes. The
Yes,
corporations have taken over the United States officially now.
And given us the big finger and said, you know what? We don't care what you think. Just like that lady in this election that video this morning, she was looking at a room full of people who had gone through the effort to count 300 votes to test a machine and found dramatic errors. There were, out of 318 were different. That's a large percent out of 318.
Yes.
And she said, well, I'm not going to do it. They said, why not? She's like, I am not doing it. It doesn't matter to me. We're not doing it. And she just stood there, held her feet and said no. So that's exactly what we get with the Trump nation. Too effing bad. It's Pinochet on Balco, man. I mean, my anxiety about Pence is when I heard him say he believes in, what are those called? Reassignment camps for gay people, because he does. He actually put in legislation in his state where it didn't pass, but that's what he wanted to do. I mean, honestly, he's and that's what Pinochet did. Pinochet created reassignment camps, and they basically rounded people up, along the way murdered several 100,000 people, but put a bunch of people in prisons for years to reassign them, so that they wouldn't learn to not talk bad about the government. Seriously. And that is, in fact, what Trump is talking about. People don't even know of their history of what the CIA has done to this country. I mean,
Obama even made it against the law to have a picnic in your backyard and invite your neighbors. You can't organize anything without a permit, even on your own property.
Like 20 people, 30 people or something. What's the number? Isn't it like 30? You can't do it over 30.
You can't do it with anybody according to the law. There's
that's not true. That's not true. There is a number.
If you're not a resident of that property, you've got to have a permit for the gathering.
The protests, because would they run it under the Unpatriot Act? Is that how they ran it through?
I think so.
Yeah. So this is the thing. This is why Obama is one of the worst offenders, because he was an attorney and he looked at the Unpatriot Act and said, I have a legal obligation to enforce this as much as possible. So he went after whistleblowers. He deported more people than any other president, all the presidents combined. He created these weird little arcane laws. I mean, there was a lot of weird things that he did that are quite offensive, and it's all based on the Unpatriot Act.
Well,
I mean,
our entire business philosophy is to start in the third world countries. When we provide them with free energy, something that will last, something that takes no maintenance, our magnetic drive floats. There are no bearings. The only friction is air.
Wow.
So there's nothing to wear out except.
Are you guys talking to any foreign investors about installing your products, say in Latin America, Central America, or Africa, or one of these underserved places?
Indonesia, Ghana, Togo, South Africa.
Wow.
And Brazil.
Awesome.
So, yeah, once we get not only that, we've got a 17 coil generator that's designed to power small industries up to a megawatt, to take them off of the city grids, because
Wow.
these major cities in Africa and South America, well, all over the third world, they have power for a few hours a day for the public and
Right.
24 hours a day for the industry.
Right.
So we can change that. We can take the small industry off of their power grid and let the people in the cities have power again, as well as the people that they, like Indonesia, there's 10,000 or more islands over there, and they don't want to put a substation, a power plant on each island for 100 people or for 500 people. It's not
Wow, Larry.
economical to run those cables. So those people that have to run off of gas or diesel powered generators can run off of magnetic generators and never have to buy
Wow.
fuel again.
That is awesome. You know what's really beautiful about that is like I just read this story about the coal industry dumping huge amounts of pollution onto the barren reefs off of some section of Australia. So if people out there could have a magnetic generator, we could stop oil, coal, all of it immediately. As
The
soon as this
great,
thing was built, it sounds like it's not something you have to like really spend like a power, and most power plants take 5 to 10 years to put up. How long would this take to install and put up?
to power your house, 20 minutes,
How
30 minutes.
about, let's say in one of the cities, let's say a big industry, like let's say like you say, in one of these places, like one of their the industry on a small island, for example. How long would that take to set up?
Once the building was built and wired, it's simply a matter of attaching 3 wires to the power system and a wire to the ground.
So
That's it.
another thing that matters is getting. Now, do you have to build a building, or can you go into a building that's existing and adapt it to your equipment?
Oh yeah, yeah. Anything that already has power, any place that's already got a distribution system, we hook right into where the power company hooks in.
Okay, so let's just take an example. For example, my dentist is sharing her office with an accountant's office and some kind of international distribution guy. They have like their own little building right here in Eugene, Oregon. Could you sell that system to the building owner and he could install it right
Yeah.
now? Like it can take himself off the grid entirely, but and they could install it right there, right them themselves. Is
Any
that a
any competent electrician that can pull a meter and take the 3 wires off of the panel right now and put 3 wires back onto it, you're done.
so then what's the cost? What do you think that the cost is going to be to the building owner?
Most generators today are around $2 to $4 a kilowatt. That's 1,000 watts. That's 10 100-watt light bulbs. Okay, that's what 1,000 watts is. Okay, that's what we want to do is sell it for around $1 a kilowatt.
Okay, so that doesn't mean, I don't understand. What do you mean by that? Like, what do you
Oh,
think it would cost him to install this thing? Like, what's
oh,
his out-of-pocket cost? Like, let's say, what's an average building use? I have no idea. Do you?
okay, a 5 kilowatt unit would operate that kind of a building.
Okay, and so how much would that cost him?
About $5,000, where right now it costs anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000.
Well, even if they had to spend $30,000
You'd
or
never have another
50
power bill.
it
Not
or
only that,
fifty thousand $50,000, like,
if you
do
stay
you guys have the ability to make one of these for $50,000, or you need to have it in mass? You can't just do it.
well, okay, right now we're winding our coils by hand. That's absolutely labor intensive. You can't do
Yeah.
uh,
Well, how
I
much does that cost? Like, let's say you got an order. What would your actual for real cost if you had to pay for the labor by hand, doing it the slow way without the megabucks? what's the actual out-of-pocket cost if somebody said, "Wow, I really want it"? Would it cost them 100,000 maybe?
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. Uh, the coil that I've been talking about, the little bitty one, it's only 8 inches on the outside. It's a little bitty coil, and we get 30 amps out of it with no heat. Okay, if you were to put that on an iron core, the iron core costs about $100 for that, and that's only a 1500 milliamp iron core. So once that saturates to 1500 milliamps, that's all that can do. Ours is unlimited. So that's $100 right there. Then you've got the wire that goes onto it. We've got 100 feet of 22 gauge wire. That's $2. So you got $102. That's for a standard coil. Ours doesn't have the iron. Ours has just got the wire wrapped around a piece of plastic. We can get the plastic donut for 20 bucks. We get the wire for $2. So for 22 bucks, you can do the same job that $102 would with our coil.
Okay, so then how much would it cost, like in labor? That's still, like, what's the total bottom line dollar if somebody was to say, okay, I'm going to build one of these and pay somebody a reasonable salary to build it, right? So because the biggest cost is obviously not the material, it's the labor putting it together, start to
Absolutely.
finish.
My
So what do you
my
think that cost is to build one for a house?
my business
$5,000?
my business associates and I are in love with the project and know exactly what has to be done. It takes two people up to 8 hours per circuit. The minimum number of circuits that we have on a coil is 6. So
Mhm.
that that's a whole lot of hours to do this, and to pay a reasonable wage, that would make our coils $400 or $500 a piece just for the coil, and the magnetic drive system is going to cost another $200-300. So
So you
to,
guys
to
could put this together for $5,000.
yeah,
Because you know what I'm thinking about is like, um, uh, as I said, one of my friends just recently put solar panels on their house, the whole thing, and it was an expensive endeavor. I think it was like $15,000, and
oh yeah,
they get a tax credit over 5 or 6 years of $1,500 each year. But they had to come up. So, like, if somebody could come up with 5 grand, you could build them one of these.
yeah.
I mean,
That's
I
what
know
we
you.
plan on marketing them for, the 5 kilowatt unit. And once we get into production,
Well, I know a bunch of off-gridders right here in right now, people who live off-grid and want to live off-grid right now in Eugene. I must know at least 50 of them. They would who have money that would gladly pay you $5,000 for that unit. I'm not kidding you. The kinds of money they're pouring out to get off-grid is unbelievable.
we we are just frantic to get on the market. Uh, Not to get on the market, we're frantic to get our generators out to the public. We've already got people that, with our
So, Larry,
coils,
if I was to talk to some of these people that I know that are biting and chomping at the bits, could I give them your phone number if they're willing to? And I mean, I'll tell them it's like $5,000 unit, I think, you
well,
know? Because
we,
honestly, this is an exciting bit of information that you're giving us. And looking for big money is a big, huge way for them to still squash your idea. Because
absolutely.
big money is not going to come your way if it's going to get everybody off the grid, because the people with big money have vested interest in keeping it the same. They don't want things to be different. They don't want people to be empowered.
You know, I thought that too, but uh, I've been talking to Rothschilds and Zoyegas and the royalty of the world lately, and not the people that run the things, but their children and grandchildren realize that free energy or an alternate energy source, if you will, is going to be the way of the future. And if they don't get involved with it now, they're going to get left out.
That maybe that's true. Their financial interest, they want to be on in the beginning market. Maybe that's a real truth, because once you're saturated the market, because it's free energy, there's no more money to be made off of it. Next, move on to next project.
We have so many projects, and our coils can enhance everybody's project. It really can. Anybody that uses any kind of power can use our coil and cut their power bill.
Okay, so now I have a really way off out there kind of an idea. Using, because we know that radioactivity, it's all just matter and molecules, right? I have heard that sound healing reverses things, like that they can do things with sound. I've up until
Absolutely. We're
so
working with that now.
you are.
Yes.
And it probably you can change it using the magnetic electricity, right? The magnetic energy. You can use it. I mean, that's what I was thinking. Like, is there any way? And then, because I intuitively think that the way we're going to heal our ecology is by using alternative methods. We're not even cleaning it. All we're doing is wiping it down. We're not cleaning anything. We're just storing the dirt and the waste in another place. It's like piling up a disposable diaper somewhere with radioactivity. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly right.
I mean, so do you know, like, do you think that am I off here that we're going to be able to use this magnetic, I don't want to call it electricity, but magnetic energy source and sound healing, and use these things to help reverse the toxic chemicals in our ecology? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everything that there is has three things: vibration, which is frequency, that causes electricity,
Exactly.
which causes magnetism.
That's
Everything that there is, from a photon to the entire universe, has those three things. So any electrical field influences another electrical field. Any magnetic field influences another magnetic field. So all of this is a matter of frequency. Once you know the subatomic frequency of anything, you can cancel that out with another frequency. You can cancel all of the harmful effects of radiation just through frequency. And every ailment known to man can be cured with frequency. We are an electric machine that operates on electrical impulses. If you run a diesel engine on gasoline, it won't work right. That's what we're doing to our bodies with all this GMO stuff. We're putting the wrong fuel in it. That's why we get sick. We are suffering under the wrong frequency, both in our communication and our power transmission. That's what makes people sick.
Wow. Well, that is exactly, it's interesting that you say that with our food. Do you think that sugar conducts electricity faster then? Do you think that
the kind of white bleach sugar, yes.
Yeah, like the processed high fructose corn syrup. I was reading an article that came out that said they conducted a study that showed even anything with high fructose corn syrup. They did this experiment where people drank a half a cup of soda, one group, and another group did diet soda. The people who drank, now forget the health effects of the diet soda, but they were studying the sugar stuff. The sugared people, even though it was just a half a cup every day, they had increased rates. It turns out that this study concluded that sugar inhibits your liver's ability to manage fat, and it causes increased cardiovascular disease and all the other stuff. Our bodies cannot metabolize the sugar. It's just not normal. It messes up our entire system. Do you think that
brown sugar is the only way to go?
Because it's not processed. That's why brown
because
sugar.
it's not processed. It's
Right.
not bleached, and it doesn't have chemicals.
That's right. That's right. But do you think because we're surrounded by this electromagnetic field, that is increased? Like there is an attraction between the processed sugar and the electromagnetic fields?
Well, not especially the processed sugar, but the fat that it creates. It
Huh.
resonates.
Wow.
People that are overweight are causing terrible things to happen in their bodies these days with all of the frequencies that we're being subjected to. Let's go to Wi-Fi for a minute.
Okay.
Boys and girls in school from kindergarten through 12th grade will have Wi-Fi. Almost every school in the United States now has Wi-Fi.
And they're on computers all day long.
Yeah, this is a government program to sterilize your children. Listen to this real close. By the time the little girls get out of high school, 50% of them will be sterile. A little less percentage for the boys, but just think about it. That's your whole half of your next generation is going to be gone. Half of them.
Do you think they really know? I don't think they really understand. I mean, okay, I have a friend of mine who's a first or second grade teacher. She is in Los Angeles. She's doing it for 30 years, and she hates the computers. They are mandated. The kids have to be on the computer according to they have to do standardized. It's standardized.
Sure, the World Health Organization wants to reduce the population. Start with the children. Make them sterile.
Wow. Wow. We've covered a lot of things on this hour, Larry.
Ooh, and it's almost over already. Sorry.
Yes, we have. Not sorry. The show goes quickly. It's only 1 hour. Before we get into the meat of it all, we end up like, I mean, it is. This is why I'm glad that I have this venue so that I can share people's voices and like your idea. And it's really important. I mean, you're just a person who loved fishing and decided to start doing something else and looking around and came across this. This wasn't your lifelong dream to invent a new power source, was it?
Well, not exactly. I'm a retired engineer, and for 32 years during my business life, I've got a PhD in electrical engineering. There are 3 degrees, BS, MS, and PhD. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to cuss a second. It's bull, more, and piled higher and deeper. So a college education is wonderful to get a background, but don't think that because you've got a doctorate degree in something that you know everything there is to know about it.
That is for sure.
I was never taught more than 1 chapter's worth of magnetism in all of my 12 years of higher education.
And doctors are not trained in health and nutrition. So there you go. Well, look, Larry, we have about 20 seconds. I want to thank you for coming on the air with us. It's really been great. I hope you'll join us again.
I sure will look forward to it. Thank you, Lonnie.
Thank you, Larry. And you guys put your courage feet on. We'll talk to you tomorrow. It really does matter that we take action. Every single person has something in their heart that you can move on. So please do. Take care.
JJ Inc., and when I'm on planet Earth, I listen to UCY.TV.
Don't you just hate it when you finally manage to shut down the San Onofre